INESC TEC and Engenharia Rádio present INESC TEC Science Bits, a monthly signature dedicated to decode science and technology trends. INESC TEC Science Bits, decoding science bit by bit.
Hello, welcome to a new episode of Science Bits, a podcast promoted by INESC TEC and Engenharia Rádio that tries to go further into the main trends in science and technology. The COVID-19 pandemic, which invaded Portugal in March 2020, forced us to redefine our attitude towards work. On March 18 this year, a state of emergency was declared, forcing teleworking to be adopted whenever possible. Teleworking literally means remote work, working at a distance, being a job performed outside the company using information technology. This delicate situation inevitably brings new challenges and demands, since the boundaries between professional and personal lives can blur and create a set of psychological difficulties for individuals. So how can we fight the stress and help workers with their motivation? How can technology contribute to support this new conditioned reality? And what if technology and psychology managed to join forces in this teleworking crusade? What did we all have to gain? So to answer these and other questions, we have here with us today two INESC TEC researchers working in different areas, but reconciled between them, Duarte Dias and Susana Rodrigues, both from the Center of Biomedical Engineering Research, CIBER. Welcome both. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you, Katarina. How are you?
So before we get started, and for us to understand better why you're both here, could you please introduce yourselves? Susana, you can go first.
Okay, Katarina. So my name is Susana Rodrigues. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at CIBER. My academic background is in psychology. So I started my PhD in 2012. That's when I started working with CIBER and when I met Duarte. We worked in a project called VR2 Markets, and since then we have been involved in several projects related with human sensing and healthcare. So I can say that my research interests are related with occupational health and psychophysiology. In some, me and the team, we have been investigating stress and fatigue among first responders and other stressful occupations. And our goal is to provide psychophysiological analysis of stress and fatigue using multi-methods and wearable devices. Along with this, we also provide professionals and team leaders important tips for stress management and for well-being promotion. I think in sum, that's what I am and what we do.
Yes, and maybe I can present now. I'm Duarte Dias. I'm a biomedical engineer, and I'm now in CIBER coordination. I made my master thesis 5 years ago at INESC TEC, and I stayed there since then. So I made my thesis in wearable device and extracting physiological signals from the human body. And I developed new hardware architectures and was involved in several projects. And one of the projects during these 5 years was VR2 Market, where I worked very closely to Susana. I don't want to repeat what she said, but it's more or less the same. We worked, my side was more in the area of wearable device and collect all this physiological data. And Susana was more in the analysis of this data and giving a psychological component. And this is what I think it's very important in science, that is to connect different persons with different backgrounds. And this is the only way that I see for us to move on with science and combine two different field works that we have here, that is engineering and psychology. And this allows us to have different areas like the one that we are going to talk today, that is occupational health. That is, I think it's the very important theme to discuss here. We have been working on this area more or less 3-4 years. Susana a bit more, and we even also tried to launch a startup, a spin-off, let's say, around this team, more focus on specific persons like first responders that Susanna said, but also other workers like oil and gas and so on. But we believe that this generic platform that we have been developing can be useful for what we are going through, that is to do a lot of telework and understand better the people in this regime.
Thank you both. So for what I see, CIBER, where you both work, develops its activity in many health areas. So for instance, managing stress in difficult situations seems to be an important concern in the research you do. So Duarte, what have you been working on to solve these questions?
Yeah, from my side, I've been more focused on the area of wearable devices and extract the measures from the people's vital signs and so on. But in the center, we have a research line that we call quantified occupational health, that it's not only to perceive the signals, but also to give here a quantification of them. And we have been working on this in several projects. The most recent that is ending this year, it's Perfect. The name of the project is Perfect. And we have a full system that acquires the data from the person. The person has an app. Not going very deep in the technological facts, but we retrieved all the data from the person. And then we have a very important part that allows us to have this research line, that is the quantified occupational health. That is, we have the input from the psychological side. That is where Susanna enters in this part. And combining the physiology of the person with the psychology of it, mainly the psychology, it's mainly through questionnaires and so on, we can try to have a measure of how to quantify mainly, for example, stress, like Susanna was saying, and understanding better how these variables moving on. And this is very important, because if we think in all the medical aspects, and as you said, Katrina, very well, we do a lot of work in different areas in the biomedical area. If you think in the hospitals, for example, X-rays, if an engineer looks to an X-ray, you cannot understand exactly what you are looking for. But if a doctor tells you, oh, you are looking for this specific gray area here or dark area here, we will know how to do the algorithms and how to do the engineering to look for that and to detect that automatically. Here it's more or less what we are doing between engineering and psychology. It's not in terms of images, it's in terms of feelings and how the state of the health of the person is evolving. And we combine here these both areas, and we call a new area that Susanna already told the name, that is psychophysiology, which we think it's one of the future things that we are going to see in the next years. And that in the biomedical area, it's I would not say it's new, because it's been widely talked, but it's very interesting, mainly now that people are more stressed at home, that we need to understand better people, we need to understand how they feel, and the questionnaires, should not be the only way. We should be able, just using signals, using wearable device, to understand immediately how the people is feeling and how they are dealing with their normal day. So I think that it's very important to have this kind of technology to understand better the people, to understand better how they are managing themselves, and how is their health evolving.
Well, so considering that all these results are just a small step in the scientific research, how do you think that technology, or even science in general, and all those projects and ideas you talked about can help the common employee just stay at home and do his teleworking?
Yeah, that's something that has been very, very difficult. That is, we have a huge effort to try to move science from our laboratories to the field. That's very, very difficult, and there's a lot of obstacles, mainly when it's not direct. And when I say this is, you don't know exactly what is going to be the output, and you don't know exactly if this technology, because you cannot say that it will relieve your stress. You don't have 100% sure that it will do that. So it's difficult to say to people, okay, use this and it will solve your problem. No, we don't know. So this is area that we have been working on, and the quantified occupational health, like we talk, we don't need to have an enormous system to do it. We can start with small things, and we can start with smartwatches, like we have nowadays, like Fitbits and so on. They are not reliable for clinical purpose, for medical purpose, and so on, but they can give you an idea. And for example, just for you to know, in the beginning of the pandemic, I bought a smartwatch, and I was monitoring myself during the pandemic and while I was home. And this was very important because I understood some aspects that I was dealing with, and how my body was changing, and how my stress was evolving during the day and even during the night. And I understood that doing let's say self-monitoring of me. And I think that is very important for the people that should start by themselves. Of course, that we are trying here to develop a system and trying here to develop a complete system with a lot of support and so on. But if the people accept these kind of systems, it's very easy, and they can start just for a simple smartwatch or a simple wearable that they have in the market. And sometimes it's more easier, just need to understand better how to monitor themselves and how to look for these indicators that sometimes are not so visible to yourself. You feel them, but in this way you have some measure to better understand them. And then in the future we may have bigger systems, we may have more complete systems that give you exactly what to do, exactly what to change in your habits. But until then, maybe people can start with small systems, and it's a good way that technology is moving to the people, not in a broad sense, not in a complete system, but starting with small things. It's already happening. And I think it's very important that, and hope in the near future to have something that people can adopt very easily.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's see what the future holds. So Susanna, you are a certified psychologist, and you have been working with Duarte in some of these projects he talked about. So thinking about the work you develop at INESC TEC, how do you see the role of technology in stress management?
So, Katarina, I have no doubts about the importance of technology in health, particularly and including mental health. It has been a big challenge for psychology to analyze data and to understand data, because we deal with surveys and self-reports, and this information is subjective and can also be flagged, for example, by memory bias or memory distortions when we are reporting a past situation. And this also can be influenced by our feeling at the moment. If we are sad or if we are depressed, we can see things more negative, and we will reflect that on our speech. And technology, in this case, the use of wearable devices, as Duarte said, can help us psychologists, because it can provide us real-time and more reliable quantitative and objective information. So we can complement this information with our self-reports. For example, our research group is working on a stress index that we use data from wearable devices. And this data is further analyzed with machine learning techniques, providing more reliable stress information. So this is very important for stress diagnosis and also for stress prevention. And besides these components, we also have stress management that I believe we can do very important and interesting things in this area. We envisage the implementation of interactive and easy to use mobile applications that can be seen as a sort of virtual coaches. And these virtual coaches can provide simple and easily stress relaxation and stress relief techniques. For example, we can use mindfulness. This is a very important technique for stress relief. So our idea, or the idea of using these applications, is to empower individuals with tools and with techniques so they can autonomously deal with their stress and therefore increase their well-being.
So with all these new techniques, or not so new techniques, might we say that it is possible to combine technology and psychology to provide a response to people who are working at home that may suffer from stress, anxiety, or other disorders?
Absolutely, Katarina. COVID-19 pandemic has bring additional sources of stress, as stated by Eduardo, and as we see in the example he gave us, particularly for those who are working at home for the first time and sometimes with kids to take care at home. This is a big effort. It's a big challenge to keep mentally healthy in times like these, not only for being working at home, but also for dealing with the news and our worries with the future, with our health, with the health of those we love. And for example, if we have a simple health gadget, like what explained, we can closely monitoring our health. And for example, if we are seated quietly in our living room and our heart rate is above the average, let's imagine that is 120. This could be indicative of emotional stress because we are not doing exercise, we are sitting. So this literally means we are stressing, probably we are thinking or we are worrying about something. And we can use, by having this awareness, we can use simple relaxation and mindfulness techniques to try to calm down ourselves. So this could indicate that we need to stop, we need to think about what is causing us additional stress, and this awareness will help us to better deal with it. And technology is very important, it's a combination.
Okay, so now this is for both of you. Let's imagine I'm one of those employees we are talking about who is in teleworking. And like that, I might be facing some difficulties in my day-to-day life, or having some stress and doubting my productivity. I live alone, let's imagine, and every day I have fewer and fewer contact with the outside world, and I have been growing fear of leaving the house. How do you both suggest I manage this situation or even find some help?
Katarina, you touch a very important point, and you are not only this happens. You told this is really happening, and one of the consequences of the pandemic situation has been social isolation. It's very important for us, as we are social, right? We are human beings. We are social. We live in a society, so it's very important to us to connect with others, being our relatives, our friends, our co-workers, and we can keep this communication. We can and we should keep this communication. We can use chats. We can use video calls to keep contacts. We also should share our concerns with our colleagues, with our leaders, because they are also aware of this strange situation and they are feeling, most of them are feeling the same. So besides this, it's important also to sleep, to eat well. I'm saying this as a psychologist because this is very important in all situations on mental health problems. So we have to find some time to relax. We have to find the best strategies that work with us. For example, listen to music, going for a walk, because being at home 24 hours is difficult to switch off from work and to be with family, because both dimensions are under the same roof. So we need to invest time in ourselves to be able to deal with this new situation.
Yes, and I completely agree with Suzanne, and she's the specialist in this area. So I don't have anything to add in terms of how to deal with stress and so on. The only thing that I would like to add is maybe the part of engineer. That's why I'm here. So more related with technology and so on, what I see here, and I think that Suzanne already touched a bit on that. is that we can use devices and wearable devices to try to look for these kind of indicators to understand better people, for themselves, for them to understand better their body, but also for them to be monitored, mainly doing work. Because if we are outside the work, okay, it's our problem, and we need to understand how to deal with it. But doing work, we are normally in teams. We have superiors. We have people that is pushing us to do this, that. And I think it would be very important to have this kind of instruments, this kind of systems, to better understand how these people are reacting under its pressure like we normally were used to, but this pressure at home with other variables mistered here. So I think that we should have some tools, we should have some automatic monitoring tools, like we are talking about the wearables, that could give some opinion or some feedback to our superiors how we are dealing with this, because it is new. People, some of them are doing well, some of them are having some issues, and this is a very good tool to have that feedback and to understand that how people are dealing with this. Of course, that after work should be also tools, like Susanna said, but doing work, I think, would be very important to have this kind of feedback, to also for our superiors to understand how we are dealing with it.
Yes, that would be certainly important, and we all work at INESC TEC, and I guess we can agree that it's an institution that has always been concerned with the difficulties and the problems of their employees ever since the pandemic started. So, and Susanna, I know you were involved in a group of people that was dedicated to present support solutions to these people who are working at home. Can you tell us what ideas did you come up to give support to our colleagues in teleworking, or even how did technology help you with that task?
Yes, I think as expected in an institution like INESC TEC that cares about well-being of their workers, and just after the pandemic state was decreed, the institution started to think about solutions to help workers. For example, we for the first time were physically detached, and it was most important than ever to somehow keep our community closer. And so the institution, some steps started to be taken by the institution as a coronavirus support line to respond to the needs of all its members and to identify possible psychosocial risks. Practical guidelines on the impact of COVID-19 on personal well-being. Online communication channels were created, for example, at home. All of these steps were important to maintain and to keep the collaborators connected. And technology is now what keeps us working and what keeps us communicating with each other. So it's essential on times like this.
Duarte, just to wrap up, and taking into consideration your experience as a researcher, what do you think the future holds us regarding this health technology, and how can it contribute to overcome the difficult times we are living right now?
That's a very good question, and I think that we are moving in that direction. That is to try to monitor people, or for people to monitor themselves in order to better understand their body, to better understand how to deal with the daily situations that normally now are more home situations, because we are more at home. But I see that, and if you look a bit back, we see that a few years ago we didn't have anything related with this. The medicine was only on hospitals, not at homes. And in the last 10 years, we have been seen a huge evolution in this area, with the systems like wearables and all type of technology getting out of the hospital and going into the people homes. So I believe that we are in the good direction. And I think that if this pandemic happened in 10 years, in 2030, that many more support systems would already be available for us. both in terms of technology, but also in terms of, like Susanna was saying, in terms of intervention, mindfulness, and so on. And we would already have an integrated platform, like we are saying here, and we are talking, that could monitor you, could give feedback to your superior, could give you already some indications how to deal with stress better and how to deal with some situations. And I think that in a few years we will have that, and our laboratory is working on that. It's trying to push the idea forward. It's trying to move on with it, but sometimes it not only depends on researchers. It also depends on who is going to use the platform, who is going to support us to do the platform. So from our side, of course, that researchers have ideas, want to do things and want to push things forward, and we have all the knowledge to do it, but it doesn't depend on us. But let's hope that in a few years that we have that, and we could give it to the people worldwide.
It should be a teamwork, right?
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Exactly.
Thank you both very much for this. So without any doubt, these are troubled times. But you talked about several actions that we need in order to surpass the current situation. And if we can do something like joining two different areas, such as technology and psychology, and we can contribute to a better society now or in the future, we should all feel a little bit safer and confident that better days will come, right? Like you both talked about, we're expecting that real soon.
Yeah.
Well, let us try to have some mental health in all this, and some well-being during the confinement for ourselves and for the people next to us, so that we can overcome this situation in perfectly mental health. For our listeners, we hope that this conversation was interesting and helpful, and we will be meeting soon to talk more about science and technology. So until then, stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
INESC TEC and Engenharia Rádio present INESC TEC Science Bits, a monthly signature dedicated to decode science and technology trends. INESC TEC Science Bits, decoding science bit by bit.